Welcome to the You Are It podcast. My name is Alejandra Orozco. I am a social science researcher and an energy healer. You Are It has been created to support you in expanding your perception of reality. You are loved and absolutely deserving simply because you are, not because of what you have accomplished. Join me and be ready to transform your beliefs and approaches as you enter the flow of becoming one with your highest good and your highest purpose. Hello, you all. Today's episode is a bonus. Sometimes it is material gold that grabs our attention, but in this occasion, what I am offering far exceeds the value of gold. Please enjoy. Dear listeners, in this bonus episode, we are looking at a technique that has been impactful in my life. It is the letting go technique created by David Hawkins, which is based on ancient teachings and well-known spiritual guidance. The technique is truly a means of moving with ease into a state of surrender. Why surrender, you may ask? I hope to elaborate on this in the next episode or episodes, but briefly, so much of our doing, or what we often call living, is actually a form of reacting, and this happens because there are all these numerous layers of conditioning, beliefs, social and mental habits, cultural practices, excesses supported by a lack of inner balance, lack of awareness of our true nature, fears, etc., etc. These layers influence the way we take and react to the situations of daily life and can also perpetuate some of these situations. Our emotions are the substance that supports or fuels the construction of our world, and we are the creators of our world. Through our expectations and emotions, we shape the experiences we have, and it is our thoughts that set emotions in motion. Our thoughts are all these programs running in our mind, and they are programs or ways in which we have trained ourselves to judge and react emotionally to each experience. And unfortunately, most of the time, the ways in which we are programmed to act in this or that way, which end up reinforcing the emotions that the experiences evoke, often keep us predictably heavy in low-frequency emotions such as anger, despondency, guilt, resentment, apathy, fear, sadness, depression, hopelessness, focus on blaming others and our circumstances, among others. And the challenge is that the lower the emotion, the lower our life-giving energy is, keeping us attached, blind to the beauty that surrounds us, and quite often it creates a feeling of helplessness to change our circumstances. The lower the emotion, the more unaware or disconnected we are from our true nature. We are beings of light, and our most natural state is a state of joy. The farther away from joy, the farther away from our true nature. And when you, who are divine beings, choose to remain in low frequency emotions, it is like a light that chooses to dim itself and remain in the shadows. And who loses? Everything and everyone in creation. We all remain deprived of your light, and the purpose of your existence remains bound and hidden. It is as if we choose to be the phenomena, when in reality we are the space in which phenomena takes place, an analogy of David Hawkins. What you resist persists, and you cannot change what you don't consciously acknowledge. Allowing the all of you in order to have a more fulfilling journey in this reality requires surrendering to the all of you, including the life-draining emotions we often feel. How did they come to exist is a topic for the future. These emotions are like bubbles that exert great pressure deep within, but once they are released and reach the surface, they simply vanish, like the shadows that, when exposed to the light, are as if they never existed. You only need to practice the technique a few times to start feeling the energetic shift in both your body and your consciousness. Now, let us give it a try and see what is in store for each one of us. The following piece is from the second last session of chapter 2 of the book Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. The mechanism of letting go. Letting go involves being aware of a feeling, letting it come up, staying with it, and letting it run its course without wanting to make it different or do anything about it. It means simply to let the feeling be there and to focus on letting out the energy behind it. The first step is to allow yourself to have the feeling without resisting it, venting it, fearing it, condemning it, or moralizing about it. It means to drop judgment and to see that it is just a feeling. The technique is to be with the feeling and surrender all efforts to modify it in any way. Let go of wanting to resist the feeling. It is resistance that keeps the feeling going. When you give up resisting or trying to modify the feeling, it will shift to the next feeling and be accompanied by a lighter sensation. A feeling that is not resisted will disappear as the energy behind it dissipates. As you begin the process, you will notice that you have fear and guilt over having feelings. There will be resistance to feelings in general. To let feelings come up, it is easier to let go of the reaction to having the feelings in the first place. A fear of fear itself is a prime example of this. Let go of the fear or guilt that you have about the feeling first, and then get into the feeling itself. When letting go, ignore all thoughts. Focus on the feeling itself, not on the thoughts. Thoughts are endless and self-reinforcing, and they only breed more thoughts. Thoughts are merely rationalizations of the mind to try and explain the presence of the feeling. The real reason for the feeling is the accumulated pressure behind the feeling that is forcing it to come up in the moment. The thoughts or external events are only an excuse made up by the mind. As we become more familiar with letting go, it will be noticed that all negative feelings are associated with our basic fear related to survival, and that all feelings are merely survival programs that the mind believes are necessary. The letting go technique undoes the programs progressively. Through that process, the underlying motive behind the feelings becomes more and more apparent. To be surrendered means to have no strong emotion about the thing. It is okay if it happens, and it is okay if it doesn't happen. When we are free, there is a letting go of attachments. We can enjoy a thing, but we don't need it for our happiness. There is progressive diminishing of dependence on anything or anyone outside of ourselves. These principles are in accord with the basic teaching of the Buddha to avoid attachment to worldly phenomena, as well as the basic teaching of Jesus Christ to be in the world but not of it. Sometimes we surrender a feeling and we notice that it returns or continues. This is because there is more of it yet to be surrendered. We have stuffed these feelings all of our lives, and there can be a lot of energy pushed down that needs to come up and be acknowledged. When surrender occurs, there is an immediate lighter, happier feeling, almost like a high. By continuously letting go, it is possible to stay in that state of freedom. Feelings come and go, and eventually you realize that you are not your feelings, but that the real you is merely witnessing them. You stop identifying with them. The you that is observing and is aware of what is happening always stays the same. As you become more and more aware of the changeless witness within you, you begin to identify with that level of consciousness. You become progressively, primarily, the witness rather than the experiencer of phenomena. You get closer and closer to the real self and begin to see that you had been duped by feelings all along. You thought that you were the victim of your feelings. Now you see that they are not the truth about yourself. They are merely created by the ego, that collector of programs which the mind has mistakenly believed are necessary for survival. The results of letting go are deceptively quick and subtle, but the effects are very powerful. Often we have let go but think that we haven't. It will be our friends who make us aware of the change. One reason for this phenomenon is that when something is fully surrendered, it disappears from consciousness. Now, because we never think of it, we don't realize that it has gone. This is a common phenomenon among people who are growing in consciousness. We are not aware of all the coal that we have shoveled. We are always looking at the shovelful we are handling right now. We don't realize how much the pile has gone down. Often our friends and family are the first ones to notice. To keep track of progress, many people keep a chart of their gains. This helps to overcome the resistance that usually takes the form, "this isn't working." It is common for people who have made enormous gains to claim it just isn't working. We have to remind ourselves sometimes what we were like before we started this process. End of the passage. Now, allow me to leave you with a great question posed by Sammy Vanek, a beautiful soul in YouTube. What if there was nothing that you and I could possibly do to mess up this process of expansion for all of us? And my own question, would the awareness of this as truth allow you to move towards accepting the sacredness in the entirety of creation? and the wisdom in all of your experiences? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all dearly, and you have been listening to the You Are It podcast. Thank you for joining the You Are It podcast, where we celebrate the treasure within all of us. We trust that this technique will take you places and greatly expand your horizons. And we are thrilled to have you as part of this adventure. Until we meet again, take care, stay curious, and continue to embrace your authentic self. Rumi, the mystic and the poet, once said, "You search the world for treasures, but the real treasure is yourself." This is the essence of our message on the You Are It podcast. You are the treasure waiting to be discovered or enjoyed. You are the flame that never consumes itself and the light that shines everywhere. Now you are home. Please know that you are most welcome. Stay tuned as we look forward to sharing something of value on every episode. Goodbye.